Hello. In this last video, we are going to set up our UN Sustainability Goals site so that we solve a problem we identified before, and that is as follows. When we are using the horizontal logo, we've adjusted the top margin of our Flexbox container to be 200 pixels, which works out nicely because that means this top left corner of this, or this top bar of this blue section, gets shifted down from the top 200 pixels. So when I'm scrolled all the way to the top of my page, I can see it. If I scroll down, it slides up behind that fixed image, which is nice. But the problem is that when I shrink this down, we need more than 200 pixels because this image is larger than 200 pixels. Now there's a variety of ways to do this, but we're going to use this opportunity to introduce a little JavaScript and explain some really good kind of best practices so that we're starting off on the right foot. Okay, so I've already made my new file, UN Goals Step 7. That's what I was looking at. I've changed the title. And the first thing is, where do I write my JavaScript? And you can actually put a script tag more or less anywhere in here, and it'll be run. But it's best practice to put your script tag at the very bottom of your body tag. And why is this? The reason is that in the script tag we'll often access some of the elements using their class or their ID. And if we put it at the top, because the HTML page renders from top down, it might not have actually created those, so you get some logic errors. The other thing is that sometimes scripts, when they're loading information, they can take a little bit longer. So if you put it at the top and you load that information, it's going to wait until that's all loaded and your screen's going to be blank. So that's when you get this kind of delay on your web page being loaded. So we're going to put our script at the bottom, and that's kind of where we put it unless there's some reason to put it somewhere else. And for now, I'm just going to put a really simple command in here. I'm going to say console log hello. And simply what console.log does is it prints out something to the console. It's the same idea as in Python is ready print. And again, so this is going to run once when we load the program, or sorry, when we load the page. So we save this, we refresh, and there's my hello down there. Now it only runs once, but what I want to do is I want to make an event driven. I want to make an event, and that is I want an event to kind of figure out the actual width of the page and then make a decision around the top margin. And so let's do that. Okay. So let's get rid of that console.log. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called W. And if I type in window, this is, in JavaScript, everything inside your page is called the window, and I can grab the window and I can actually pull the inner width of the window. So I'm going to say inner width, and this is a way of accessing the inner width of the window. And now what I want to do is, if I want, I could console.log this. Let's just console.log W. And let's refresh this. And so we get 971 there. And notice it only does it once. And the reason it's only doing it once is because that's what it does when it loads the page. 766. 955. So what I want to do now is I don't want to do this just when we load the page. I want this to occur when we resize the window. So how do we do this? We write a function. So we say window.onResize. And this is how we actually say, basically, on the resize of the window, we're going to write a function, and that function is going to take as a parameter an event. And then I'm going to take these two lines and I'm going to put them inside this function. So this is a little bit of a different way than what you might be used to seeing a function, is that with JavaScript, I can actually create a variable and I can assign it a function. And then I just write the function right here. So now what happens when I run this? Notice it didn't give me the dimensions yet. The reason it didn't is because I haven't resized the window. As soon as I resize that window, there it is, giving me those dimensions. So what I can do now is I can actually, let's get rid of that console.log. Let's set up an if statement. So we're going to say if, and we're going to check that W. So remember, if we scroll up to the top here, and what I can do actually to make this a little bit easier to get around, let's just minimize all that. We set the min width to 940. So essentially we said that if you're larger than 940, we want the logo horizontal, and if you're less than 940, we want the logo, the square, what did I call it? The square logo. So I'm going to say if W is greater than 940. And then I'm going to open a brace and close a brace. And now we're going to use a command. This is called Document Object Model, or DOM development. And what it is that we can think of the whole web page is stored in this object called a document. So I can say document, which basically gets everything that is inside the HTML. So you can think of this HTML file as a document here. And then I can do this get elements by class name. So what I want is if we come up here and we look, we see that we need to change this class, this margin top CSS piece on the Flex Container class. So let's just do this, console.log, and we're going to document.get element by class name, and we're going to get it by Flex Container. So let's save this, and let's give this a load. And now watch what happens. When I get large enough, what's happening is every time I resize it, it's actually getting that specific. It gets all of the Flex containers that exist on this page. And on our page, we only have a single Flex container. So it returns it as a list, and the very first Flex container is stored at index 0. So if I say document get elements by class name Flex Container, and we're going to get the very first element, which is at index 0, and we reload this, there's our Flex Container. This is our Flex Container with all our flex boxes, or flip boxes in there. So what do we want to do with this? So we don't want to print it out to the screen. What we want to do is we want to now set the style. So if I say .style, that will mean I want to do something with the style. And I want to set the margin top to, and we're going to set it to 280. No, I'm sorry. If this is greater than 940, we want to set it to 200 pixels. Make this a little, all in one line. There we go. So that's what we want. So basically, if the width is larger than 940, we're going to set the top margin to 200 pixels. Else, we're going to take this exact same line again. Let's type it out just to help us remember. So we're going to take the document, which is essentially your HTML document. We're going to get the elements by class name. So we're going to get all of the elements that have the class name Flex Container. And because classes, there could be multiple elements, or multiple elements called Flex Container, we need to look at the list, and we're going to get index 0, which is the first one on our page. We're going to access the style. We're going to change the margin top, and we're going to set that to 280 pixels. So let's see what happens now. So we give that a save. Run this. I don't need my anymore. And as I get smaller, there we go. So you see what happened there? So every time I resize, it's running this little piece of code, and it's getting the width of the window, which is basically your window where the page is being displayed, and it's saying, is the width greater than 940? And if it is, it gets all of the elements that are called Flex Container, and since we only have one element, the index of that element is 0. We set the style, the margin top to 200 pixels, and that means now, as I drag it to be larger, it's going to change that margin. And there you go. And now you should have a nice website that is, relatively responsive, looks nice if it's small or large, that sets up these UN sustainability goals. So as we said at the start, this was really just an introduction to actually build something that looks nice and start to understand some basics around HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I hope this set of videos helped, and if you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and I'd be happy to kind of continue to develop this. Have a wonderful day. Take care.